All right, click the links to join the channel here or on Subscribestar. Thanks to everyone's very generous donations towards the new tech live streaming hardware setup, which should be I'm very excited about. So this is going to be Alan Moore, but admittedly, it's going to be through a political lens, not through the comic book lens. Though, as I say this, I look up at the bookshelf, I realize I have Alan Moore Prometheus Book 2 sitting up on the bookshelf. I give away graphic novels after I've had them for a while, and some I wish like the Batman, the Dark Knight in the mid '80s. I regret giving that away, not because it's collectible or anything, but just because it's kind of nice to have the actual book to read as opposed to the digital version of that. But I kind of feel like if I can give it to somebody who enjoys it more, and now I look into some other stuff, maybe I should somehow do something like while I'm still on YouTube to get rid of some graphic novels just to give them away to people. I'll figure that out later. Anyway, so Alan Moore. This article by Avi Green, he's a very good writer, but he's writing for a vaguely right of center publication, a comic book, Bleeding Fool. So like his writing is not going to get more widely disseminated, and he's legitimately talented. But it's like that's just the political discrimination going on in the country right now, where he's an alt-right Yahtzee Israeli guy. It's like, yeah, he's a far right Jewish writer. That makes a lot of sense. That's where we are now. We're in clown world. So he raises a lot of good points in a GQ article on Bleeding Full. I'm going to focus on one or two so I can fit the 10-minute time constraint. How Hollywood and comics treats its creator. Actually, I got a lot of graphic novels. That's another video. How Hollywood and comics treats its creators. Hollywood seems to say one thing and do another. They have two faces. They lecture us, which is a good reference, I suppose. They lecture us on all sorts of nonsense, but then they do stuff like they applaud Weinstein for decades. That just like, to see that, every time I see that, I think of that. It's like, it just, it raises your internal TAC, which is a kind of, I guess, a reflection of the country's tachometer, or temperature gauge, or pressure gauge for a steam engine, or something like that. It's like, I think you kind of know what I'm talking about. It's, for all of us, for everything, it's all kind of shifting further into the red. Anyway, well, they all claim that they knew what he did, which is a weird thing to admit to. If it was me, I'd be like, oh, I had no idea. Seemed like the nicest guy to me. I never heard anything. It's like, because otherwise you're saying like you knew something, but you didn't actually do anything. And nobody's asking you to, take matters into your own hand, though. At some point, anyway. So allegedly, Ron Perlman urinated on his own hand in protest to Weinstein. Stunning and brave, Ron. Stunning and brave. But they know that they didn't, call up the FBI. That would have been just to get paperwork done, to set the stage, or work with the SAG, Screen Actors Guild. Really, the FBI would be the better path forward to set up a sting operation, or like do something behind the scenes where you go, listen, we're going to have to, like, we have an internal problem. Let's try to fix it without the FBI. But if we can't fix this thing, we're going to have to go to the FBI, and they'll think this is a problem. We can't allow this. But they didn't do any of that stuff. They let it continue for decades, and like, what happened to hashtag Me Too? That disappeared kind of quickly when it was a whole left-wing guys who were getting caught up. So the other issue is they virtue signal, about socialism just nonstop, but they don't actually fix the disparity in their own industry in regards to the creators and the stories, and two, in regards to actors not essentially profit sharing with their community. They seem to accept a lead actor making tens of millions of dollars, while somebody who's got equal screen time makes less. And, a little bit tongue in cheek, but my question is, well, why not equity? If that seems to be something you guys are pushing, it's like it never seems to apply when it affects their pocket. Hollywood is eager to tell you what you should give, what you should do with your money. I remember that one guy that was saying, I need to pay more taxes. And people are pointing out, there's on the tax form, you literally can. And then obviously, like, if you're in Hollywood and you really feel you have excess cash, there's no shortage of charitable groups that you could pay into, or literally start your own. It's like you guys are really concerned with other people's money, people who are, if you're a name in Hollywood, they're making a whole lot less than you. But they don't want to fix their own industry. Why don't they simply apply socialism to equitable payments? They say one thing and do another. The actors can change Hollywood by using their platforms, which is another thing they seem very eager to tell people. You have a responsibility to use your platform. It's like, yeah, but you guys don't really do anything that matters. You do pawn behavior, but you're never actually going above pawn behavior. They never look inward. They focus on Republicans and office, but not on artists and writers not getting paid enough. Don't get me wrong. In many cases, you could get checks from the mainstream to I mean, very, very lucrative checks. But then you look at like what the rest of the money out there, and it's ridiculous. And I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm saying they push this socialism and equity. It's like if they're pushing this so far, you say you paid an artist or a writer like $400,000, which is a ton of money, and royalties and rights and all that. He goes, yeah, but you paid the actor $40 million. It's like, and then you paid the makeup girl, for a 6 month shoot, say $200,000, which is a fair chunk of change. Like, there's money in Hollywood, no doubt. But that's not equity. It's like if that's literally your belief system, it's like, why not focus on it? Anyway, so the worst examples are like actors who are just getting paid ridiculous amounts, while the artists who created the comic or the story get, relatively speaking, almost nothing, especially when you're looking at like, that's the person who created it. Maybe you should have some more protections in place. And I'm trying to point out the hypocrisy of this group who claims to be for the little person. It's like all that shifted so much. The thing is, again, tongue in cheek, why not just pay everyone equally on a show? Why is an actor worth more than the hair and makeup person or the set design or even the electrician or someone who's knocking together sets? It's like, why not? I mean, imagine if you got people together and go, yeah, we want to pay everyone equally. We'll just do an hourly rate. And the hourly rate on a Hollywood set would be very, very high, but you wouldn't have an actor getting paid $30 million anymore. So, and I know it sounds like an extreme example, but Hollywood talks a big game, but they never actually do anything when it affects their money. It's like, oh yeah, you're not going to be able to drive the $200,000, whatever. You're going to have to, like, why don't you downsize to a Prius? And to be fair, some Hollywood actors do drive Priuses and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, but you're living in a mansion, and the amount of water you use on the landscape is insane. Like the Kardashian, and there's a ton. I did a video on that, I think, before, the amount of water and that kind of stuff. And it's like, again, it's like we can investigate the behind the scenes now because people have got access to technology. They didn't. You look at like how much the Kardashians were using on water to. You don't need a lawn in California, friend. It's like most people we're not watering our lawns unless we're doing it with reclaimed water setup, which actually works pretty well with gray water. I mean, just as like an experiment, why doesn't Hollywood set up an equitable pay movie? I don't think. Yeah, you might do that once just for the hell of it, but I don't think that's going to take off with them. Anyway, Moore is interesting. I think he's about 70. He looks, and he gets to finally kind of see the result of left-wing policies. Everything goes to heck. They say they're left-wing, but their corporate structure exploits people. And they're also the first people to support that exploitive corporate structure. Everyone in comics and Hollywood is left-wing with other people's money. The hypocrisy of the whole thing is what annoys me. You look at their hippie beliefs and you realize that they kind of got duped by communists. And this happened post-war. It's been happening. Like, it's a whole nother longer video, but the subversion and corruption of the left wing's a trip. And don't get me wrong, the right's not any better. They're equally incompetent, just in a different way. But that's another video. Anyway, another weird thing I have noted with pseudo woke corporations. I mean, how many memes do you need to see? Like the corporations, they put all their rainbow flags on when it's, I don't know, that time of the year when they do that kind of thing, and then in certain countries they don't do that. It's like, oh, what happened? What happened? Wait, are you editing your movies for this foreign countries? Yeah, it's just for America. Oh, that's kind of weird. Anyway, so with pseudo war corporations and fandoms, it's like, as he mentions in the article, when an artist speaks out, the left-wing Twitter kids are quick to take the side of the corporation. And I'm not sure what happened to the left in the past 30 years. They turned into apologists for corporations. The whole, I've said it a million times about how they're raging for the machine for J6. I thought riots were the voice of the unheard. Yeah, never talk to the police, never talk to the FBI, screw the man. We need to work with the FBI to track down those dangerous J6 people. What happened to you people? I mean, like nobody respects that. What happened to the left? Is there anyone on the left? It's another video, but it's like obviously this stuff kind of bothers me, which is like some videos for YouTube, are clickbait type of things, and we'll do what you want it to do. And other videos, like you just have to make them to like get this stuff out, sort of thing. Anyway, so I guess that's what 80 years of generational brainwashing will do to people. Is it will you think you're raging for the machine, but you are the machine. You are Coca-Cola now. Congratulations. So the left wing can't fix the left wing because they can't admit that they made mistakes and that they're trapped by political correctness. So a 70-year-old left winger is not a 20-year-old left winger. They really have no idea why the country went to heck. Young leftists probably think that this current Weimar is normal. It's the power of generational brainwashing, which is why they try to destroy the past as much as possible so that people don't know that yes, the past was better. Then he goes, oh, that's just a fashionable belief system. It's like, no, friend, I was there in the past. We have videos and photographs, and we have personal testimony, and we have objective evidence. Everything you're doing is bad, and it's going to lead to man-made horrors. Anyway, I mean, just be prepared is all I'm saying. Get some freedom pellets, several thousand of them. At one time, white rice is good too because it lasts literally forever as long as it's kept dry. At one time, the left supported the independent, small businessman. Now they support corporations, and they won't admit that they got subverted from class to focusing on what part of the world you're from here and what you look like. It's like, it doesn't feel like that should be the primary issue, but what happened to you guys? Well, I mean, you started to go after very powerful, important people, and they quickly realized about 10 years ago that they could not allow that, and they subverted you, and you allowed yourself to get subverted. Don't get me wrong, the right is equally as cringe. It's just a different type of cringe. So the old left wing was so radically different than the new left wing, and it's going to sound weird, but many of them, and I happen to use a little bit of euphemisms here, so I can get this monetized, were, I'll say, technically left-wing nationalists. The new left wing are globalists, which means internationalists. And globalism and internationalism is 1,000 times more cringe than even original communism was because it was more nationalist. So to the extent that they know what they are, because they're kind of more reactionary now, like whatever the right, they're just like whatever CNN tells them to be. Oh, it's not CNN guiding my beliefs. It's my college professor. Yeah, it's the same people, dude. It's the same people. They're I'll say playing golf together. Don't say anything in the comments. Anyway, so they're pro government, pro corporation, and anti-white. They seem to think that Bob the contractor is their oppressor. And, his $50,000 truck, he's driving through Colorado, and he's just trying to go about his life. But he's driving an extended cab truck, and he's the electrician, and it's like, you're blocking the street. Oh, well, he's driving, he's a stop sign, he wants to go through, so let's shoot him. Yeah, why would you do that to the guy? You're blocking this. Good luck with that. So they think he's the oppressor, and it's like, so you don't ever find out who owns the banks and like go to their gated communities? It's like, no, because one, you never get access to their communities. When they occasionally do go to their communities, I saw one video of the police response. So like the people riot, they're BLM Antifa rioting for years, right? And they go to residential neighborhoods, nothing happens. The cops just follow them along. They go to certain other neighborhoods, the cops jump on them, beat the hell out of them, and arrest them. And Antifa's like, what the hell is going on? It's rare that happens, but you go to the wrong neighborhood where people can pick up the police, and they're talking to like the chief and go like, oh yeah, get them over here, get these guys out of here, and they're gone instantly. So they go to the upper middle class neighborhoods, because that's how you speak truth to power, is in the upper middle class neighborhoods. It's like they're as far removed from the top of the food chain. These people are so effing deluded. Anyway, no, Bob the contractor is not your oppressor. It's the people who own big tech and the bankers. It's like, really, or even your local politicians. It's like, well, shouldn't you be protesting outside their house, councils, the city council members? It's like they never seem to actually speak truth to power. It's just they speak truth to the people who are not in power, because I guess it's safer. I mean, it feels good to riot and knock over garbage cans of like upper middle class people who just have to clean all that up the next day as they go to work. So The left wing pushed woke propaganda that absolutely killed comics, and they pushed woke policies that destroyed the country. So it couldn't support a comic book industry, and that's kind of an issue with the changing population. But like those policies are what put those things into into um, into effect. So then they act surprised when comics died and pissed off when Comicsgate came into existence, which Comicsgate is really a fascinating story. So even Alan, it's like, yeah, someone could do the history of Comicsgate, but it's such a small audience. It's like the people who are involved in it know it, and the people who aren't probably just don't care about it. So even Alan Moore is just kind of parodying Bolshevik propaganda, as he mentions here in the article. This straw man version of the right wing. The right wing is not a threat. There is no right wing in America. He mentions essentially a poop lord comedy website mostly, where he mentions the SPLC, and the SPLC is a $1 billion anti-weight hate organization. Yeah, you think a tiny little website is dangerous with a few thousand users on it because your globalist media puppet masters told you it was. It's not. The ADL, SPLC, ACLU, those are Bolshevik organizations. They are designed to destroy the country, and they are. They very effectively have. If you look at the the case law history of the ACLU, is fascinating. I did a video for Odyssey and Bit Chute about the subversion of the ACLU. If you remember the Illinois case, I want to say Sandusky. What was it? You know the case I'm talking about. Where the ACLU was defending First Amendment issue. I can't for the life of me remember, but I know someone will know in the comments. The Illinois, even Blues Brothers made a joke about it. That was the ACLU was defending the First Amendment case, and in the legal community, people talk about the subversion of the ACLU. There's a ton of articles written about how it got subverted. You look at who's pulling the strings of the ACLU now, and you'll know everything you want. Like at one time, they defended the First and Second Amendment, Fourth and Fifth Amendment issues. Now they don't. They're openly a left wing organization. You go, that like y'all got yeah. Look at who's pulling the strings on it. Look who's pulling the strings on the SPLCU. I think the old leader got Cohen got dipped out for abusing a young girl. That's the leader of your that's the leader of your organization, and it's another fascinating video. But obviously for Bit Chute, Odyssey, or Subscribestar. So those groups are the threat to America. I mean, there's no shortage of case law that explains the situation, or even just legal scholars talking about the situation, the absolute subversion and corruption. But the thing is, if you're not in the legal community, you're probably not reading those articles. But I mean, they're written for the layperson. There's a fascinating history of maybe I'll do another video on that. I mean, there's really like I love making videos. I gotta admit it. There's no shortage of topics, and when I get the computer, the quality is going to be better, but the quantity is also going to be churned out because prepping videos on a dedicated computer, it's going to be probably more for Odyssey and Bit Chute, more political stuff. But you're able to put stuff out there and then use the Substack too. So donate, 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 shill, shill, shill. Like show us feet pictures. Anyway, everything Moore knows about these topics he learned from Bolshevik mainstream media. Even in the interview, Moore is reacting to a strawman version of the right wing. He made a character a BLT because he thought Lovecraft was some insert strawman argument here. Yeah, we know about the cat. Moore isn't. The thing is, like, are you judging people from modern day standards, or are you judging people in the time period they're in? Or like, why the hell would you judge people at all? It's like just observe and move on. But to be reactive, it's like that seems like so much of what the left is nowadays is reactive. And don't get me wrong, like I said, the right is equally cringe. It's just cringe from a different direction. I mean, the right is also the left too. It's like a more developmentally disabled version of the left. So Moore is not telling his organic story, whatever it might be. He's just being a puppet. And don't get me wrong, he's a talented puppet, but he's deeply trapped in the matrix. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, support that computer fun, and I will see you guys on next episode.